Welcome traders to our midweek technical analysis video. So jumping straight into things here, this is where the market opened up in this small bearish candlestick. As you can see, price began to consolidate upon market open before then volume decided to start picking up at around that 3,356 point of interest, the same point as the previous lower high in this sort of bearish wedge that we found. As you can see, price ended up breaking structure, clearing the recent higher high after we created the next higher low. Price then created its next higher high at this level of around 3,370. Price then dropped down, creating the next higher high at 3,365, with price then continuing on bullish to 3,400. Price then decided to slow down as volume dropped coming to the end of the New York session on the Monday, and then once Asian session sort of kicked in, we saw some bearish momentum, taking price down to test the level of 3,385 as a support a few times. Price decided to consolidate at this level before we then saw a significant and clean break of structure of the previous previous higher high at 3,400, with price then continuing on and creating its next high at around 3,343. As you can see, since then price has continued on bearish, giving us a lower time frame bearish wedge, indicating to us that we are simply just setting up for that next higher low. So we're going to go ahead and go down to our minute 15 and just sort of dissect the current point of gold. So as you can see, there's a few interesting things that we can see here. So obviously we reached that new high and price began to consolidate. Obviously we did have an economic event take place just during the Asian session. However, as you know, economic events we're not going to take into account as it's not real price action. And so as you can see, there is something interesting here. If I go ahead and change this into yellow, actually no, we'll do blue so you can see it a lot more clearer, and we're going to go ahead and show you a little pattern that we have established here. So we have established a head and shoulders pattern, with our first shoulder, our left shoulder being here, our head being here, and then our right shoulder here. So we have an inverted head and shoulders pattern. What does this indicate to us? So obviously with an inverted head and shoulders pattern, we are going to draw in the neckline, which will be the point where price last tested as a support, and the first push back up as a resistance that tested on previous support, which will be here. And then obviously we're going to grab as many wicks as we possibly can. So what we're currently looking for is for price. If I go ahead and just grab an arrow real quick, and we're going to change this into this color this time, just so I can give you a cleaner visual of what's going on. So we've established that we have a head and shoulders pattern. We also understand that we are in a uptrend according to this high that was created here, followed by higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and potentially a higher low. So higher time frames, we are in a bullish trend. And we're also dissecting and going on to the lower time frames, we can see and we have established that there is a head and shoulders pattern. So for a head and shoulders pattern to play out, what we're looking for now is for price to continue on bullish from this level. So for example, from here, and we're looking for price to break through this neckline, which by the time it does that, it will probably be around the 3,430 mark. Once we see price significantly break that level, what we could potentially see is price come to test previous highs of around 3,343, with price then coming to perform a break and retest pattern on that neckline before price then continues on bullish. With current price action and candlestick structure that we are seeing as of right now, a new all-time high in the next week or two is very, very likely. So that's what we're going to be anticipating. Obviously, if this head and shoulders pattern is to fail, which is going to be our first and main confirmation to see and understand where the market is going to go, but obviously if this head and shoulders pattern doesn't play out, what that would look like is if price continues on bearish from this level, here, if price continues on bearish from this level and then breaks past one of the two shoulders or the head, we're going to expect price and anticipate price to come back down to the previous high at around 3,400, which is this level here. The reason why I say this level here is because obviously this is the previous high. The furthest we'd expect gold to go to is around 3,395 if we do see a bearish continuation from this point onwards. However, the current price action and candlestick structure that we are seeing, we are going to anticipate and agree that a bullish move is a lot more probable from this point onwards. So we're looking for our first confirmations to be a couple things. So what we're looking for, our first confirmation is for price to continue on bullish, of course. We're then looking for price to either break through and continue on further, or break through and then retest. If we see price break through, so the first confirmation will be for price to continue bullish, the second confirmation will be for price to break through that neckline significantly, and then the third and final confirmation will be that level of 3,343, which is the previous higher high. If we see that price broken through, we're going to expect price to come up another maybe 300 to 400 pips. If I go to our hour one, I can show you in a little bit more detail. So we're going to look for price to continue on bullish, another maybe 400 to 500 pips, perhaps coming to around 460, before price then comes back down to test the previous high or creates a higher low here, and then continues on further to eventually go and test this previous all-time high at this level here. Obviously, there are some levels that we want to take into account. For example, on our hour 4, we do have this point of interest here in which price did recently push to. So that would sort of be the level that we'd expect gold to continue onto if we do see a bullish continuation from this level. So for example, we could see something around this level where price creates its next higher high and then its next higher low. A nice move to take into account, or to look for, would be for price to break through, to solidify this head and shoulders pattern, break through the previous higher high, and then continue on to make a new higher high, and then come back down to test previous higher high as a support, creating its next higher low. Our next higher low, and then continuing on bullish. Obviously, if price does surpass this level, the next level, going back to our hour 4, the next level is going to be our all-time high of around 3,500. Obviously, if we do see this level broken through, we're going to expect price to, or anticipate price to, move at least another 400 to 500 pips, eventually creating or touching the same all-time high as before. So with that being said, that's going to be our midweek technical analysis video. As always, I hope you have all enjoyed. We have quite a nice setup and quite a few it's nice price action at the minute, so there's quite a lot to look forward to. But obviously the main thing is going to be watching this head and shoulders pattern play out, and if obviously we can see that pattern play out, a bullish continuation of this current uptrend that we have seen since obviously we got that first confirmation of that bearish wedge broken through the break instruction, and the last lower high broken through, creating a higher high. Obviously we are continuing that bullish trend, so the next sort of thing that we're looking for now is for this head and shoulders pattern to play out. Remember, first confirmation will be for that neckline to be broken through, solidifying the head and shoulders pattern, and then we will look to see how price reacts to that 3,433 level. If we are to see price sort of break through this neckline somewhere around here, we are probably most definitely going to see this recent higher high broken through, with price continuing on somewhere into this sort of range here. So that's going to be our midweek technical analysis. I hope you have all enjoyed. Don't forget to continue to hit that like, comment and subscribe button. Let us know in the comments below if you're enjoying these videos and anything that you'd like to see in the future. And that's going to be that for the midweek technical analysis. I'll catch you in the post-week market review. Peace.